Wellness Show, episode 141.
Welcome to The Wellness Show, a podcast on health and wealth. I'm your host, Tyhson Banighen, the founder of the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy. Join me as we get the latest insight, tips, and strategies from wellness providers, coaches, and successful, heart-centered entrepreneurs, and much, much more. So we're welcoming Kelly back to the show on the psychic connection to Sasquatch and star children. This is part 2. And the question that came to me from the first interview is that while we are learning how to reach our broaden our consciousness and reach out to communicate, interrelate, and learn from the star nations of the Sasquatch, which are brothers and sisters, which are far more multidimensional beings that are far more advanced than we are. So we get to learn from them. I'm curious to know how that information then comes down through you, and how does that influence the work, the day-to-day work, and the healing work that you do?
Right. Well, they do emphasize, the structure of spirit, mind, and body rather than, in any other order. So that's the way that we really need to kind of nurture ourselves. And so they teach me, mainly how to change my thinking and, my intentions and ways of being, so that when I change my perspective to be in a vibration of love and truth and light and all of that, then it's reflected in all of my work. If I get negative or fearful of something, or, whatever it might be, then that's going to also be reflected in my life. And so they help constantly remind me, just for higher thinking, and things like that. And they also stress the importance of meditation, because that's really important to stay centered, and so that we don't get so caught up in the world. It's also diet and exercise is extremely important too, even though that is a physical thing that we would do in these bodies. That's how we stay healthy and sharp and clear, because we are what we eat. And our society nowadays pretty much eats crap, and so that's how their thinking is going to be. Everything's sprayed with pesticides or made with GMOs and, different things like that. That's really counterproductive to growth and learning and productivity and things like that. So it's important to avoid certain things. And they also teach me, and especially my husband, different herbs and supplements and vitamins and minerals and things that we can take for better health and wellness. Sometimes it's just as simple as, regularly taking some kind of herbal formula to help open up our mind, or to help take care of something that's ailing our body. Somebody might have a cancer or something that's even much less severe, but that pain or, whatever it is going to block us and crowd us from being, our highest potential. And so that's how my husband really gets a lot of wellness instruction as far as herbal health. He's a great psychic dowser, and can determine for just about anybody, any client, where their dis-ease is in their body and how to correct that. And he gets a lot of guidance from the Sasquatch on that. And I do as well, but his is very advanced. He's a real alchemist with what he's able to do, and it all comes from a much higher source. So there's that, but there's also so many different spiritual practices that can help as well. And a lot of it's through visualization, clearing the chakras by visualizing that, or just protecting ourselves by surrounding ourselves in like a pink bubble or something like that, so that some dark forces aren't able to interfere with us. So there's so many different methods, and it's kind of a as you go learning thing, whatever comes up, and they'll show me or guide me to a way that I can prevent that or correct it or heal it. So I'll be learning for the rest of this lifetime and many more. But now I'm blessed with the opportunity to be writing it down and sharing it with others, so that this is knowledge that can continue to be passed down throughout the generations. And there's so many other people nowadays that I've seen that are also transcribing, this higher channeled information, so that we really can evolve to higher levels of consciousness.
So when this happens for you, is it like, would you say that the Sasquatch are like your guides, or like, do you get one-to-one? Do you doing automatic writing? Are you getting full-blown words that you translate in your skull? I'm just curious. I know it would be different for different people, but for you, how does this come about?
In different ways, but for the most part, when it's information that is really important that they wish for me to write down, it comes through sometimes one-on-one with an individual, or sometimes it's more of a group or more of a collective consciousness, I should say. And so it comes through that way, but they give me time to get pen and paper so I can write it down, and the words come through word for word what I should write down. Or sometimes it's a visual. So sometimes there's just no words to describe certain things, and I'll see something through my mind's eye, sometimes while conscious or sometimes while sleeping, and I'll remember that dream.
Right.
But I can tell the difference between a dream and, some larger experience, because a dream I wouldn't remember so much detail, and it wouldn't be so deep with so much information, So it comes in different ways, but they've also stressed to me the importance of using discernment and discrimination as well. That's something that apparently has gotten me in trouble in past lives.
Yeah, I
So
think
I'm
got all of us.
yes. You're right. So I'm learning now not to share everything. And I always check with my guides what should be shared with others and what shouldn't, because a lot of the information that comes to me is personal to me. And it's things that I'm learning about myself or my mission, or, things like that, that's not necessarily a part of other people's reality. And so there's a lot that I don't share because it's for me, but I ask them to let me know what should and be shared with others. And so I feel confident that I'm writing down the message, or they're with me when I'm writing it, or while I'm visualizing it, and I, trying my best to write it down at that time or immediately afterwards, so that I don't forget something. But I do feel their constant guidance in anything that I share.
Hi, this is Courtney Starhart here, and I'm here to talk to you about this wonderful new project called Finding the Force. It's an amazing adventure that I've started with my friend Tyhson. We are carrying over 100 years of collective knowledge together that we want to present in a digestible way to modern people. We're all looking for deep magic, and we can feel it in our bones. A lot of us are being called right now to delve into something much deeper than what we've currently got. So we're using materials like the 4 agreements, and we're basically giving you the playbook, the step-by-step on how to find the force inside of you. It's not something you're going to find outside of yourself. It's something that's within. And we want to take you on your next best step every single time, because we need to pray for miracles. We all know that it's a crazy world out there right now. We can't fall into fear. And right now we have to learn how to work together and pray for those miracles. So join us at Finding the Force, and we look forward to seeing you on Facebook and on the website. Bye for now.
So did they show up and that you know them by name, or are energetic signatures, or
Yes, there's several I know by name, They don't care so much for names, really, because they identify each other through their energetic signature.
Right.
So the names that they have is more for us, more for our benefit. But I really connect with names. I have a real special connection with words and letters and language and things like that. So I always ask for a name because it helps me personally identify them, or to remember them, or to properly give them the right credit, if they're giving me a message to share. So I do get to know a lot of their names. Sometimes they tell me a name's not important, or sometimes they tell me the name of their collective group. Like they might say, this is the eldest group of star elders of the sixth density of this local life sector, or something like that. So even though that's kind of like, what does that mean? But it's how they identify themselves, so that I can later put that down and people would know the exact source.
Yeah, you sort of bridged in your explanation between, channeling or communicating or downloading or having ahas with, your psychic connection to Sasquatch, to then you jumped into Star Nation. So can you help with that bridge? Like, where does one end and where does the other begin? Or does it, or is a Sasquatch, would you say it is a Star Nation type person or being, even though it has the potential of literally inhabiting this dimension as a third dimensional being?
Yeah. Well, yes, the Sasquatch are star elders also, so to speak, because we're all from the stars. We're all from, someplace off Earth.
Right.
So yes, they're a part of that, but they do have their own unique vibration and agenda, and they were here in these large physical bodies at one time. But it's several different levels too. Some Sasquatch are primarily here on Earth and are of a lower density, and they don't possess those advanced psychic abilities and technologies and things like that, because they're still learning and evolving as well. So, but the more advanced Sasquatch that are interdimensional and capable of portal travel and permeating consciousness and everything like that, they could be grouped together, so to speak, with the star nations. But I can tell a difference. As a matter of fact, when the Sasquatch want to communicate with me, they ring my right ear, and when the star nations want to communicate with me, they ring my left ear. And that helps me to identify what the source is. Even though I can read the vibration, it's kind of leaves me without a doubt. So from the very beginning, I know who's talking. And at times I'm questionable, like, well, who are you, or where are you from? Sometimes I get an answer and sometimes I don't. And it's good to just know that they're from a star nation or not. But they don't identify themselves at these different levels. There's, once you're so highly evolved, you don't see anyone who's being less or more from being here or there, and things like that. And so they just choose not to identify it, because they wouldn't know how to identify it. So it really just depends. But for me personally, I can tell the difference. And I guess it's something that I'm just able to especially read through the energetics. And I also see them through my mind's eye. Sometimes it's very physical, especially like out of the corner of my eye. I'll see full bodies standing there. But if you go to look at them, head on, they're not there.
Right.
Even though you can see them out of the corner of your eye. So, it's always a little bit different. And I think that they choose not to be fully physical a lot also because I'm human, because we're all humans, and we have been conditioned in certain ways, and we have been created to have different negative aspects of us. What's the word I'm looking for? Xenophobia, we were all created with extreme xenophobia, so that we are conditioned to fear anything that we're not familiar with, people from different countries, and especially beings from other planets.
Yeah,
So
I
when we
would think that
recognize something.
if the Sasquatch are psychic like they are, they're highly sensitive.
Mhm.
But I would think that even being around us with that fear would be just overwhelming for them. Like
Yes,
they wouldn't want to be there. So I think
exactly.
probably one of the reasons they, don't show up full bodied, so to speak, because that would generate that fear.
Yes, it would.
Hi, this is Courtney Starhart here talking about Finding the Force. It's an amazing new program that we have for you, and it's basically all about staying in your heart. The path to liberation is through unity consciousness, and that requires being in your heart field. The way that we're going to perform the miracles that we need on the planet right now is by getting into that unity consciousness of no conflict. And there were lots of examples in books like the Celestine Prophecy, where we saw that when people fell from grace into a fear state, that they were more susceptible to the things that they were actually afraid of. So what we need to do right now is to elevate our consciousness and stay there. So Tyson and I are doing this program called Finding the Force that you can find on Facebook, or you can find it at findingtheforce.com. And we welcome you to join us. There are all different levels of membership, but we're going to ask the people who are really serious about this to jump on board and download this playbook that Tyson and I have cooked up together with our community. So thank you very much. We'll see you soon.
One of the questions I have, I think I already have the answer, but I'm curious, is that, when the alterations of our DNA happened by those that wanted to control planet and consciousness, I'm assuming the Sasquatch or some of them were able to avoid that because they just literally ascended to a different dimension. Did I get that right?
Yes, well, that's a long story and history as well. Some of them are able to get captured, so to speak, and manipulated with, and there are darker forces that have done things to them or used them for experiments or extracted their DNA to create other beings that are Sasquatch-like, Sasquatch looking, but they're actually like monsters. Out there to destroy the forest or to harm people or to harm the good Sasquatch people. So that's happened and that is out there. Although most of the Sasquatch that are of a higher vibrational frequency are able to avoid that. So it's some of the more lower density ones that are more vulnerable to that. But the higher your level of consciousness is, the higher your chances are of avoiding that, kind of situation, or you're just able to sense it. Just like, some people can really sense danger, whereas others can't. So it's just a matter of where you're at on the evolutionary scale, basically.
Right. So
Yeah.
you've been writing so much and studying so much and being with these beings so much. I know that there is an overall message that they're wanting to communicate to their younger brothers and sisters, being us.
Mm-hmm.
So could you take some time and tell us that message in a way in which the listeners can begin to understand what it is that they're trying to get across to us? I think you've touched on this before, but I think it's important because this is a body of information you've written about, thought about, been taught, instructed about, and there's some primary message that we need to hear as a civilization.
Yes. Well, the Sasquatch people were the first mammal people here on Earth. They were created to be the caretakers of Mother Earth. And so, they've been taking care of her forests and streams and oceans and all of that. And they have a deep connection with the trees and the stones and the animals and all of those things. And we as humans do not. We've been kind of designed to lose touch of that connection. But that's one of the things that they're here to teach us, is how to reconnect with nature, our mother she's our mother. Every element that's on earth is within our bodies. And so it's so important to remember that and to work synergistically with that. And so when you work to balance spirit, mind, and body, you're working to balance your connection to Mother Earth. And she is in a very sad, sick state of affairs right now. She's very ill. And so the Sasquatch are very concerned about her because they love Mother so deeply. And so they want us to assist in carekeeping. That was part of the original reason why we were created too. But the lower lords manipulated us so much that we're on a completely different agenda now. Most people, most humans don't even feel that connection to nature. And so that's one thing that the Sasquatch are really emphasizing, is to pay attention, to go with the flow, to not have fear, and to walk in a vibration of unconditional love, and to connect with the earth, to feel her and touch her and appreciate her and understand our connection, and everything like that. And the more that we do, the more we'll understand about ourselves. And it's also just so important for us to evolve our consciousness and our thinking, so that we can ultimately have great interspecies communication and relations with all. Right now we look at animals as something below us, something lower, not as good, or they don't have a soul or consciousness, some people even think. And no, we're all equal. I am equal to a stone. I am equal to a tree. As a matter of fact, the stones and the trees have a lot more wisdom than the humans do. So it's learning to see these things as living beings, and to see them as our ancestors, and to know our interdimensional nature. That's really what the Sasquatch emphasize as the next step of our evolution, is to really understand our interdimensional nature, and to know that we can do all the same kind of things that they can do with practice. And it all starts in our minds and in our hearts, and the way that we think, and the way that we present ourselves to others. And like I said, it's so easy to jump to conclusions, or to get upset with somebody, or to make a judgment against somebody that's different from ourselves. And that's really emphasizing is, don't do that. Change your thinking. They're not going to point fingers and say, no, that's bad now, don't do that. Instead, they help. And instead of saying, don't do that, do this instead. Right. This is a way that you can change your thinking. This is a way that you can evolve. You can meditate. You can read more about metaphysical issues and things like that, and different practices that you can do. Our ancient ancestors also had so much knowledge and wisdom, and a lot of that information is coming back too. A lot of the native practices and stories are being uncovered, or being told again now that the First Nations people are able to speak out, once again. And not to mention all of these really awesome ancient discoveries that have been going on, in the last few years, that, just discovering all these wonderful artifacts and big crystal pyramids under the ocean. And I mean, how incredible is that? And our past generations, of course, knew about it. They were a part of it. But now for this society to be relearning what humans were capable of before, and to see that obviously we were more advanced than we are now. At one point we had to have been, or else these things wouldn't exist. So it's really opening up people's minds to these ideas. And it's the Sasquatch and the Star Nations have a lot to do with it, as far as the energy that they're putting out there too, because they work with the energy grids. and with people's consciousness. So even though it seems like they're behind the scenes and maybe not doing a whole lot to help change this world, they're helping us to change the world. They're helping us to change ourselves so that we can change the world. And they've emphasized to me so many times, because I get a lot of messages and calls from people that are just like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed. I want to change the world and the way these are, and the just all these horrible things that happen in the world, and they get really overwhelmed thinking, oh, I have to change all this.
Mm-hmm.
And the Sasquatch emphasize a lot that no, you can't change the world, and if you tried to change the world is going to turn around and destroy you because it's
Right.
too big. But what you can do is change yourself, and then the whole world around you will change with you.
Hey, this is Courtney Starhart Hale here to talk to you about Finding the Force. Tyson and I are putting together this amazing playbook for the teachers and the healers so that we can train our tribes. Right now we need to just keep on focusing on our next best steps each day, but there is a way to stay in this elevated consciousness. I think probably a lot of you have seen this scene from Indiana Jones where he's got to cross this great abyss with a burning fire pit at the bottom. And it's by setting his intention clear that he needs to get to the other side, and by following the map that he has, and then taking that first step of faith, that he actually leaps into the solution. And so that's what we're asking everyone to do, is to take that step of faith and to continue to take the next best step, like Indiana Jones. It really does require a playbook, though, because a lot of our ancient knowledge has been lost or sequestered. Fortunately, Tyson and I have 100+ years of experience together that we can share with you and boil down to like a step-by-step program. So we're asking people to come on board and to explore Finding the Force with us and create community all over the world so that we can perform these miracles that need to be performed in our times. And so that we can also integrate the energies of this consciousness that's coming into the planet right now. So we have a lot of science behind it, we have a lot of research, and we have a lot of great information. And we're looking forward to seeing you. You can find us on Facebook at Finding the Force, or you can find us at findingtheforce.com, where you can join up and be part of the tribe. Bye for now.
Well, that's
And
another segue into another program that we're creating, which has to do with what you're talking about. And I love the piece of the puzzle that you're bringing to the piece of the puzzle that we're talking about is stewardship, planetary stewardship. 30 years, 40 years I've been involved in running a nonprofit charitable organization called Turtle Island Earth Stewards, which has to do with stewardship, deepening the sacred connection between land and people. Eco-forestry, all those things, living in community. So we've come together. I say this is Courtney Hale and myself. She's in her 30s, I'm in my 70s, so we're bridging 2 generations. And the program's called Finding the Force. And really what it is bringing ancient wisdom teachings from the First Nations on the planetary level together with the latest technology and science, and creating a community of like-minded people so that we can learn how to do the communication in the ways that you're talking about, both collectively as humans, but interspecies communication and also communication interdimensionally with higher intelligence like the Sasquatch and the Star Nations. And part of that will be also, working with the Rainbow Children, traveling to sacred sites, talking to the Lords of Light with the Mayan civilization. All those beings are still there. It's not as though they disappeared. All those portals are available to open up and receive the teachings. So we're very excited about this. So anybody on this call, as part of the wellness show, if you're feeling that you're somehow different and you're wondering where you're supposed to fit in, or you're on a planetary overload, or looking for your family of like-minded human beings, then we really encourage you to check out findingtheforce.com and come and join us on this incredible journey together, because when like-minded people come together, we truly can change the world. And it's not through war, it's just changing our own consciousness And guess what? When we do that, miracles happen. So anyway, I had to put a plug in that because, again, you gave me the great segue into what it is that gets me up in the morning, gets me excited. You're on the same page. And your message from them to us is the same message that's been inspiring me to get out of bed and do what I do. So thank you for that.
Great.
It's very,
Yeah,
very.
thank you. And I'd also like to mention too our own conference that we have here in Chewelah, Washington. This year is going to be our second annual one, so it's still pretty fresh and new. It's called the Spiritual and Psychic Sasquatch Conference. Here in Chewelah, Northeast Washington. It's at a facility called the Chewelah Peak Learning Center, which is a wilderness facility. It's more like a retreat because there's camping and bunks that you can stay in over the weekend. But that's what our focus is, more than rather being a typical Sasquatch convention where you talk about physical tracks and hair and things like that. We're really delving into the spiritual lessons that they have to teach. And this year we'll be having some workshops that teach, different methods, ways of meditation or to communicate with them, or we'll actually have quite a few First Nation speakers that will have workshops on, different ways to, like I think one is called the feather connection and things like that. So, great things that we can practice, or even private sessions. It's going to be September 1st through 3rd this year. And so you could find more information about that on our websites too. The bottom of our homepage at psychicsasquatch.com has most of the information and links to where you could purchase tickets and things like that. But last year was our first, and it was so wonderful and successful. The Sasquatch helped me plan the whole thing. They told me the date and the location. Everything came together so beautifully, and we had people from, I think, 6 different countries attend our first event. So, and it was just amazing. There was over 200 souls there, and a lot of us knew each other from Facebook but had never met. But it was so wonderful. It was such a high vibration, and everybody was hugging and laughing, and it was like the greatest family reunion ever. So we really look forward to having one again this year and having it even bigger and better.
Well, that sounds exciting. And
Yeah.
it's something that I'll put out through the network, and send me the information. They'll be in the show notes. So if you're in your car listening to this podcast, don't try and pull over to the side of the road and write all this information down. When you get home, you can check it out. It'll be in the show notes, and all these linkages will be available for you to make all these connections to all these great things that are happening. So that's very, very exciting. We got a few minutes to go. We have about 2.5 minutes to go. And so over to you. I know we talked about the Sasquatch message, what they're wanting to communicate to their brothers and sisters, the humans. Are there other things that you would like to talk about that are really dear to your heart, that are on the tip of your tongue, that you say, I just got to tell these people?
Everything is just so inclusive. It's really kind of hard to say, but I guess I'll leave it at that, is that, a lot of these metaphysical and spiritual topics, they're all linked together. From the Star Children to the Sasquatch to the Star Nations and the First Nations people who taught us this ancient wisdom, and even just spiritual practices like meditation and yoga and healthy eating. I mean, it's really all tied together. And you can see firsthand how it's really all connected to our Mother Earth as well. And, having to match back up with the vibration of her. Another thing I wanted to mention too, that I forgot to mention earlier when we were kind of on the topic of discussing autism in the Star Children, is that a way to look at them, without meaning any disrespect here, but a way for people to help understand people with a different way of being, I feel, is to almost look at them as if they had animal instincts as if they were an animal, because they are so innocent and they're so instinctual. Their thinking is really not anything like you would think that a typical human's thinking should be. You know, they have a lot of compassion and understanding about different things, but they might be completely unresponsive or not understanding of something else. And so for me anyhow, it really helps to think of them or look at them, treat them as if you might treat an animal that wouldn't have known any different. You know, you wouldn't expect your dog to clean your room after messing it up. So, you know, that just that kind of thing. But it really helps to understand, because their instincts are very much in tune with nature, whereas most neurotypical people's are not. And so we have trouble understanding that. And also their innocence is so great that it's hard for us to understand that. Because we like to make judgments on people, or, you know, think, oh, well, this person does things differently, or why wouldn't they, you know, think of this the way I would think of this, or do this the sensible way.
Right.
And that's not how it is with star children or people, you know, that might be labeled with developmental disabilities or something like that. So that's one way that you can help, a strategy anyway, that I feel helps people look from different perspectives, is to know that not everybody thinks and feels the same way, and that we need to have understanding and acceptance of that, instead of just judging them and saying, oh, they're different and weird and not like me, so I'm just not going to pay attention. You need to get deeper into their world and kind of understand those natural instincts of things, and in turn we would grow and develop and learn so many more lessons just by going deeper into nature like that, just looking from a different perspective.
Well, once again, thank you ever so much for that. That was very, very helpful. And for those of you that have these types of children, these special children, the star children, the rainbow children, the crystal children, then join us at in the Rainbow Children's Network, and all the links will be in the show notes. So thank you once again. That was a wonderful conversation, and all the blessings to you. And thank you for showing up on this show.
Thank you, Tyson. It's been wonderful.
All right, bye for now.
Okay, bye-bye.
For quality online wellness products, courses, and services, visit our sponsors, thewellnessstore.ca and the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy located at thewellnessacademy.ca. To stay in touch, visit us at thewellnessshow.ca. And until next time, be healthy, wealthy, and wise.